goes.
To separate illusion from reality, engineers and storm chasers didn't just rely on video. They brought science into the game, and the main character chosen for the test was none other than the Ford F-150, the most popular pickup truck in America, a symbol of weight and toughness. A chilling question was raised. How much wind force would it take to keep this steel beast suspended in mid-air? The invisible forces inside a tornado. In a tornado, a vehicle is subjected to multiple forces at once. Gravity pulling it down, centripetal force pulling it around the vortex center, vertical wind lifting it upward, horizontal wind pushing it to orbit, like a planet around a deadly sun. These don't act separately but merge into a deadly dance. To analyze, engineers divided them into two components, horizontal and vertical. Horizontally, the wind speed must generate a centripetal pull strong enough to overcome the truck's inertia. Vertically, the wind must be great enough to counter gravity and keep the vehicle aloft. Combining both factors produced a bone-chilling result. 174 miles per hour, the nightmare of flying steel. After countless calculations covering trajectory, vortex circumference, rotation time, and aerodynamic drag of the Ford F-150, the final number appeared. 174 miles per hour, about 280 kilometers per hour. Yes, once winds reached 174 miles per hour, a multi-ton F-150 could indeed be held aloft, orbiting the monstrous vortex like a toy. And Rolling Fork's EF-4 Tornado was more than capable of reaching that threshold. This means the mysterious light seen circling in the video may not have been an optical trick at all. It could very well have been a real vehicle, suspended in mid-air before being hurled back to Earth in a storm of destruction. When science becomes horror, an EF-4 Tornado doesn't just shred roofs or destroy communities. It can transform vehicles weighing tons into steel fireflies adrift in the night, glowing with headlights before crashing down in deadly silence. This grim reality sent shivers through the storm-chasing community. Rolling Fork was not just a storm. It became nature's real-world experiment, proving how small humanity is before the universe. After the terrifying calculations, storm chasers turned to one of the foremost experts on tornadoes, Professor Fred Hahn. For over 20 years, he studied how tornadoes devour everything: wood, sheet metal, and even cars. At his lab at Iowa State University, Hahn and his team had built a tornado machine, a swirling column 1.5 meters wide that could lift, toss, and spin objects. In most of our experiments, Hahn recalled, model cars only tipped, rolled, or spun across the ground. Rarely were they truly lifted. For that to happen requires a very specific set of conditions: wind direction, speed, vehicle position, and the moment of impact. He emphasized winds must exceed 160 miles per hour, about 260 kilometers per hour, to truly rip a car off the ground. Once lifted, if the vortex holds steady, the car can be suspended, spinning around the core before falling back down. When asked about the Rolling Fork light, Hahn didn't rule it out. There are many ways a car can be taken airborne. It may be swept sideways, lifted vertically, or both. Looking at that video, I'd say it's absolutely possible. Evidence from the ground, but calculations and lab work weren't enough. That's where Logan Poole, meteorologist at the National Weather Service, NWS, in Jackson, Mississippi, stepped in. He and his team combed through the wreckage of Rolling Fork for days, recording every crack, every twisted frame, every shattered vehicle. The findings were haunting. Most cars had been rolled, battered, or spun along the ground, like in most tornado cases. But a few showed unusual signs. Trunks smashed inward, while side panels and windshields remained oddly intact. This suggested they may have fallen from above, not just dragged across the ground. Logan admitted, "We can't say exactly which cars flew, but there are hints that at least a few weren't just rolled, they were dropped from the sky." When lab meets reality, strangely, Hahn's lab results lined up almost perfectly with the evidence at Rolling Fork. Both showed that while rare, cars can indeed be lifted, spun in the air, and dropped, which meant that mysterious light could very well have been a historic moment, the first time a vehicle was caught on film orbiting inside a massive tornado. For survivors, Rolling Fork was tragedy, homes and loved ones gone. For scientists, it was a mystery of nature demanding answers. For storm chasers, it was proof that nature's monsters could do the unimaginable. Reconstructing the nightmare, storm chasers pushed further, Using Google Earth, photogrammetry, and 3D modeling, they recreated the exact path of the mysterious light. The cameraman Max stood less than a mile from the tornado. With his angle and distance, researchers reconstructed the light's movement. What they found was chilling. The light appeared on the north side of the vortex, flickering faintly, then swept south, disappearing into the grey wall, before reappearing on the opposite side. This vanish-reappear pattern matched perfectly with the theory of a real object orbiting inside the tornado. Even more shocking, calculations showed the object rose as high as 419 feet, almost 130 meters, higher than a 40-story building. At that height, we're not talking about a car being nudged, one engineer said. We're talking about a multi-ton steel machine flying like a bird inside death itself. Eventually, the light began to sink. In the footage, it drops fast, like a falling star. The team believed the object, if a car, likely crashed not far from where the light vanished, shattered upon impact, blending into the wreckage. The haunting recreation. When the 3D simulation ended, silence filled the room. On the screen, the light traced its orbit, circling the vortex, soaring to 419 feet, then plunging down. It wasn't just data. It was the image of nature's cruelty, showing that even man's toughest machines could be turned into meaningless toys. Some storm chasers said watching it felt like witnessing the steel soul of Rolling Fork dance in the night sky before vanishing forever. Tragedy and legend, Rolling Fork lost dozens of lives and hundreds of homes. But the mysterious light, if truly a car, became a chilling symbol. The moment humanity faced its absolute smallness before nature. Truth and terror. The horror wasn't just in the question, what was it, but in the brutal reminder it carried. A tornado can erase an entire town in minutes. It can turn vehicles weighing tons into airborne toys. It can spread fear worldwide from a single video clip. To survivors, the light was a ghost of steel, dancing before death. To scientists, it was a puzzle. To the internet, it was a symbol of horror and mystery, perhaps one that may never be fully explained. When humanity meets nature's wrath, Rolling Fork reminded us, technology, science, modernity, all shrink before nature's raw power. Sometimes what we see is only a fragment of a far bigger truth. Maybe that light was a truck circling death. Maybe it was another object lost in chaos. But one thing is certain, it was proof of the tornado's brutality and mystery. Conclusion, Rolling Fork lost too much, yet from the rubble came a story, the story of the light of death. A story tragic, mysterious, terrifying, and unforgettable. Perhaps one day science will reveal the truth. Until then, the vision of a light orbiting the EF4 monster will linger in millions of minds, a reminder that nature can do things far beyond human imagination.